Welcome to Streams in the Desert Readers Season 2. Today we are going to be reading A Nation Arises. Written by Dina Astino. The mystery of history. History means everything that happened before. Blink once, turn around, there's a little bit more. Most of the time we read about things like presidents, battles, explorers, and kings. But I'd rather read about who drew the map and how often Columbus might take a quick nap. I'd like to know whether Washington lost his famous false teeth and how much they cost. What songs did kings sing in their dim lighted places? And tell me how shoes stayed without laces. How did they write? I know paper was rare. I heard they were birch bark, and what did they wear? Show me how we are different and how we are alike. I don't roll hoops. They didn't ride bikes. What kind of snacks did they buy at the store? History is details which it's happened before. Christopher Columbus. Columbus left Spain on a hot summer day, led his men toward west in search of a way that would help lead them to India and its spices to trade. He approached the Caribbean and said to an aide, "This must be India." Then they sailed around from the island to island. Oh, what bounty they found! He thought he'd reached Asia. His heart swelled with pride. "Let's call them the Indians," Christopher cried. Then he turned his ship around and sailed back to Spain. "I found my new route," Columbus explained. He discovered more islands on his trips back and forth, and after a while he wandered up north. On he continued and on. When he was through, he knew he'd missed India, but this new land would do. Beginnings. They weren't the first Native Americans were here when the settlers from England and Holland appeared. Exhausted and hungry, the settlers staked out of their land, built houses and churches, and worked hand in hand. But the king made the laws. The king made the rules. The history of Britain was taught in schools. The children rolled up hoops as they dolled into school. The settlers lived under a strict British rule. For decades and decades they crossed through the seas. The king said, "Pay taxes on our stamps and our teas." And the king made the laws. The king made the rules. The history of Britain was taught in schools. But in this new land, Westers whispered they were stewing far away from their ruler. Something epic was brewing. In 1773, they decided to revolt. They went to Boston and dumped a tea of boat. Still, the king made the laws. The king made the rules. The history of Britain was taught in schools. The Boston Tea Party news spread far and wide. "We're sick of your taxes," the settlers cried. "Our money should be spent on an African land, American land. Freedom," they cried. "We must take a stand." The battle began. No more far away rules. American history should be taught in the schools. Declaration of Independence. The battle raged on. "We will govern alone. We are done with the laws. Set down the throne." They fought. The tide turned, and the end was in sight. It looked like the Patriots might win this long fight. The soldiers were weary. Many battles were done. British soldiers retreating. The war almost won. 56 men from the 13 new states gathered together to sign and create Declaration of Independence so the whole would see just why they were fighting. They had to be free. It was signed on July 4th, 1776. It thought it wasn't the end of the war or conflicts, but oh, there were shouts, excitement, and cheers. The Liberty Bell pealed. There was laughter and tears. The battles raged on, but the people could see a new country was coming, and soon they'd be free. A new beginning. Never again would a king or a queen rule. Unlimited power can be mighty and cruel. This country would not have a queen or king. They divided up the power. Let the freedom ring. It took 12 more years to make it official. Split up the power. Let's start with the judicial. The courts have the power to watch out for the president, and the Congress attempt to protect every resident. The states were given power, but states weren't the same. Yet, in spite their differences, the country became the 13 United States, working together as one. The Constitution was signed. A new country had begun. Who runs the country? Who runs the country? I'm not really sure. I know that the founders tried to assure that no one could rule as strong as a brutal hand. So who runs the country? Who governs this land? Who runs the country? Does the president do it? Can a president decide, or does someone review it? I think that the House and the settlers too have the power to check on what the presidents do. Now what about the courts? All those judges sit there and decide what is legal and proper and fair. So I guess that their power is a third way of curbing, and that power that something becomes quite disturbing. So who runs the country? Perhaps it's me. My vote might decide who leaders will be. I vote for the president. The senators do. Who runs for the country? I guess we all do. The flag. When they signed the Declaration, there were only 13 states founders. Pondered long and hard, and decided to create a flag with 13 stripes and stars. That seemed the thing to do. But what could happen later when the country grew and grew? Go west, go west, go west. The cry was heard. Go west and find your land. And so they went, while leaders watched America expand. What if the new states were added? Then more and more and more. Remember them, but we don't forget what happened years before. So it was decided that the strips would always be 13 for 13 colonies. That I fought to set us free. It took a bit of doing, some truckers and debate, but now one star is added for every brand new state.
Good job.
Thank you for reading with me. Bye.